Science in the Bathtub. Archimedes hurried into the chamber where his friend King Hieron was waiting for him. "You wished to see me?" Archimedes said. "Yes," said King Hieron. "I need your help." The king pointed to a golden crown. "A goldsmith just delivered my new crown to me." "It is very nice," Archimedes said, admiring the shiny crown. "Is it pure gold?" "It's supposed to be, but I'm not sure." King Hieron replied, "I gave the goldsmith a lump of gold from which he could make the crown. The goldsmith swore that he used all of it and nothing else, but I just don't trust the man. I think he added silver to the crown and kept the leftover gold for himself. But I can't prove it. That's why I called you, Archimedes. You're the cleverest man in all of Greece. Can you prove that this crown is pure gold?" "Of course I can," said Archimedes, although he had no idea how he would accomplish the task. "May I take the crown home to study?" "Yes, but don't damage it, and don't lose it," King Hieron warned him. Archimedes tucked the crown safely under his cloak. The king also gave him a piece of pure gold the same size as the one he'd given the goldsmith. When Archimedes arrived at his home, he set the crown on a table and stared at it. "Perhaps if I weigh the crown, that will give me the answer," he mumbled to himself. He retrieved his scale and put it on the table in front of him. Then he placed the crown on one side and the lump of gold on the other. They weighed exactly the same. "Surely the goldsmith already thought of that," Archimedes said thoughtfully. "He could have added enough silver to equal the weight of the gold. There has to be another way to solve this problem." Archimedes thought about the king's crown for many days. He became so absorbed in the problem that he forgot to eat, and he barely slept. He wandered around in a daze, his head filled with golden crowns. "Archimedes, you are thinking too hard," said his servant one day. "Why don't you take a nice hot bath to relax?" Archimedes nodded distractedly, and his servant hurried to fill a tub with water. "Ah," Archimedes sighed as he lowered himself into the bath. The hot water did feel good, but the tub was too full, and water sloshed over the sides and splashed to the floor. Archimedes stared at it. "I'm sorry, Archimedes," said his servant. "Don't worry, I'll clean it up later." Archimedes didn't even hear him. He just kept staring at the water. Suddenly he leaped out of the tub and ran out into the street stark naked. "Eureka!" he shouted as he ran toward King Hierion's palace. "Eureka! I have found it! I have found the answer!" Archimedes' servant raced after him, clutching a robe. "I don't care what you found. You can't tell King Hieron about it without wearing clothes," the servant said. Archimedes pulled on the robe. "Run home and bring me King Hierion's crown and the lump of gold," he told the servant. Then he rushed on toward the palace. King Hieron was laughing when Archimedes came into the room. "I hear you've made a startling discovery," he said. "Have you solved the problem of my crown?" "Indeed I have," Archimedes said proudly. "I need a large jar filled to the top with water." A bowl should be placed underneath. Then I can solve this mystery for you." King Hieron's servants hurried to get what Archimedes needed. The king leaned forward and watched eagerly as Archimedes lowered the crown into the jar of water. Some water spilled over the edge of the jar and ran into the bowl. Archimedes carefully measured the water and told the king how much was there. Then he did the same thing with the lump of gold. Everyone was startled to see that the lump of gold spilled less water than the crown. "How can this be?" King Hieron asked. "If the crown and the gold are supposed to be the same size, wouldn't they spill the same amount of water?" "Exactly right," Archimedes said. "This proves that the goldsmith did cheat you by adding silver to the crown. Silver is less dense than gold, so it takes a larger volume of silver to equal the mass of the gold. The goldsmith had to use more silver to make up for the gold he stole. This gave the crown a larger volume. That's why the crown spilled more water than an equal mass of pure gold." "Archimedes, you're a genius," King Hieron shouted, giving his friend a happy slap on the back. "Now go home and put on some proper clothes so you can be my guest at dinner tonight." The king's gaze turned hard. "Meanwhile, I have a few things to say to that goldsmith."